Welcome to Dolly Talk. This is Dolly. How is everybody doing? All right. Let's see. Last we left off, we were doing the Craig Lewis trial. Oh, where's the tab? No. Burned alive trial down in South Carolina. Murdaugh land. So we left off with all the cops that went to high school together. And now we are going to start with the Thomas Beaver. And he is the pathologist, and we will see how that goes. If it's boring, we'll skip to the next cop. But so far, they've been pretty good. Aw, it's kind of his first little smile there. Hey, how you doing, half Irish?
All right. No deliberations, discussions, or research back there, I assume. Is that correct? All right. Fantastic. All right. Back on the record. Please call your next witness.
Thank you. State calls Dr. Thomas Beaver.
Dr. Beaver, please come forward and be sworn. You may put your papers there if you like. Place your left hand on Bible, raise your right. Your firm testimony give the court and jury in this case should be the truth, whole truth, nothing but truth, help God.
Yes,
How
I
have you
do.
been, Wendy?
Please have a seat at the witness stand, state your name for the record, and explain your license.
My name is Thomas Richard Beaver, B-E-A-V-E-R.
Thomas Dick.
Good afternoon, Dr.
Wait.
Beaver. Thank you for joining
Whoa.
us. I know it was a lot with your...
Richard Beaver. Dr. Thomas Richard. I'm not even going to say it. Sorry.
schedule.
Not a problem.
Where do you work?
I work for the Medical University of South Carolina in Charleston, so I'm at MUSC in Charleston.
All right, and what do you do there?
I carry a bunch of hats there, but the thing that I do most, I would say, is autopsies. I do autopsies for the university, and the university provides forensic pathology services to about 70% of the state.
Okay, and can you just briefly describe your educational background and professional background in forensic pathology?
Sure. So I have an undergraduate degree from the University of California. I have a medical degree, an MD, from St. George's University School of Medicine. I followed that with a 5-year training program in anatomic and clinical pathology at the University of Colorado.
He does know about the anatomy.
That allowed me to then take the certifying examination given by the American Board of Pathology in anatomic pathology and clinical pathology, and I passed that exam on the first attempt. I then did a fellowship in forensic pathology to subspecialize, and following that fellowship, I took the certifying examination for forensic pathology and passed that on the first attempt as well. I then took a job in private practice in California.
I know.
And I was there for about 5 years doing autopsies and hospital pathology.
Missed his calling.
For a private practice group, and my group provided services to the coroners in Central Valley of California. I covered about 5 counties in the Central Valley, including Stanislaus County, where the group was based. After that, I left California and went to Florida, and I was an associate at District 14 in Florida, which is Panama City, Florida. Then I wasn't there long before I moved up the ladder to be chief medical examiner in Daytona Beach, Florida, District 7, and I was there almost 9 years. And then after Florida, I wanted to go back into academic medicine, and Texas Tech University in Lubbock, Texas, offered me the directorship of Division of Forensic Pathology within the medical school, and they offered me the directorship of the Institute of Forensic Science at the university. So
I'm going to hand you what's been marked as State's Exhibit 57. I believe there's no objection to this.
No objection, Your Honor.
Thank you.
And I would enter 57 at this time.
Yeah, Barbara.
Handing you State's Exhibit 57. Is this the diagram that you filled out in reference to Terry Lewis's
Linda?
autopsy?
How you doing?
yes, ma'am. This is these are notes that I take at the time of autopsy, and I am embarrassed by my lack of penmanship.
Would this assist you in describing your findings to the jury?
Yes, it would.
Okay.
think
If I
that-
may publish at this time, Your Honor? All right, looks like I'm going to have to speed it up and down, but if you want to describe your findings, and then we can refer to the diagram whenever it's helpful.
So she had, first of all, there were no acute traumatic injuries to the skin. So there's no wounds or things that are bleeding or anything like that. So what you're seeing drawn on there, those are not abrasions or lacerations, but those are scars and areas where skin has been harvested to graft onto her. So these are large areas of scar tissue, and I've tried to kind of draw them in so that I get the approximate surface area covered that I saw at the time of autopsy. So there's a large area over her chest and abdomen of scar tissue, and then there are patches on her arms and legs. There are also patches where the skin has been harvested for to provide a skin graft for the burned areas, and that's the more rectangular areas where I've hash marked it. And then sometimes the two things merge together where they've had to graft, but then they've also harvested skin, and it's hard to tell whether it's the graft side or a transplant side, a cover side. So she was burned over about 39% of her body by my calculation. And there's an area of scar tissue that extends over the forehead and down the side of her face to her neck.
And so that's down the right side?
Yes, ma'am. I think if I put on the drawing, it should be there, but it's on the neck too. And she's had revisions of these scars as well, I think. Some of them look like there had been revisions, but
Yikes.
it's basically a large amount of scar tissue, and the skin is all scarred.
Okay. When you examined her, what did you find the cause of death to be?
So her cause of death is pneumonia. She was in a debilitated state, and because of that, she's bedridden, and she gets pneumonia. The lungs don't drain properly, and she had an acute necrotizing bronchopneumonia in her lungs.
And how is that pneumonia related to complications of the thermal injuries that she had?
Yes, so pneumonia is not something that we see in people that are mobile, able to stand upright, sit upright, that have no intrinsic disease in their lungs. It can happen sometimes if the lungs are diseased from smoking or some other disease condition, or it can happen if the person is debilitated. Like, let's say they have a stroke and now they're bedridden. When you lay in bed, the fluid from lungs doesn't drain properly, and fluid can build up, become infected, and eventually lead to pneumonia. So pneumonia is a complication of being bedridden. And she was bedridden because of the thermal injuries and all that scar tissue. The scar tissue retracts and doesn't allow the body to move because it's very stiff. It's not like supple like skin, it's stiff and hard in some cases.
Does breathing in fire and soot damage the lungs?
Yes, ma'am, it does. And I looked for that damage, but it's hard to see at this point because she has so much pneumonia going on I can't tell whether that damage is, the bacteria are causing necrosis in her lungs. They're destroying the tissue in the lungs. So I can't tell whether that tissue is being destroyed from the bacteria or it had been previously damaged or injured. But injuries to the lungs would certainly make it should be more predisposed to have this type of pneumonia.
Okay, and having large areas covered in burns.
We're halfway into, what was the, so, I
She
don't know
can,
what the question is yet.
I can tell by the way she started the question.
Let me let her finish and then I'll move on. What was the? is it-
Already testified that the victim was covered in large areas.
Yeah, no, I think it was going to be leading because it was going to result in a yes or no
Right.
response. But I don't know what the question is.
Right. What sort of conditions would that contribute to?
Okay.
That's fine.
All right, thank you. Please.
Okay, I'm not sure what you mean by what sort of conditions would that, you mean the burns?
Right.
So the burns result in scar tissue. The scar tissue has basically immobilized her, and that being immobile and bedridden predisposes to pneumonia by itself without any damage to the lungs from smoke or smoke inhalation. So there may have been smoke damage to the lungs, but the pneumonia is obscuring that from my being able to tell. I can't sort out what damage is happening to the lungs from the pneumonia and the bacteria that are there, or from the smoke and thermal effect to the tissues before they got the pneumonia.
Okay. So ultimately, what did you report out as the cause of death?
So I reported it out as delayed complications of thermal injury.
All right. And for the reasons that you just stated.
Correct.
Okay. Thank you. Please answer any questions that Ms. Bright Matthews may have for you.
Dr. Beaver,
Dr. Beaver.
I saw your diagram that's still up on the projection there. You have Miss Lewis there with breasts. Did she have breasts?
This is a template drawing, and
Yes.
she had a double mastectomy from breast cancer.
Did you have at your disposal whether or not she had prolonged exposure to radiation to treat her breast cancer?
I don't know what treatment she received for the breast cancer.
Isn't it true, doctor, though, that radiation, long exposure to radiation can also cause or contribute to thermal injury to the lungs?
Interesting.
Not thermal injury. Radiation wouldn't do that. Can radiation cause injury to the lungs? It would depend entirely on what type of radiation she got and what the fields that they applied it to and what they did with it. So I don't know any of those details, so I can't really answer that question.
Can lithium toxicity or lithium poisoning result in thermal injuries to the lungs?
No, ma'am.
Can smoking 1 to 2 packs a day of cigarettes cause thermal injury to the lungs?
Not so much thermal injury, but the smoke from the cigarettes causes lung damage, yes.
Did you know, doctor, in a review of the medical records on Miss Lewis, that in 2017, May of 2017, she was diagnosed with Ohio Valley fungus to her lungs? Can you
Ohio
tell the
Valley
jury,
fungus?
tell me whether or not you knew that and whether or not that's treatable?
I did not know it from the medical records, but I found the nodule in her lung, and it's actually described in the microscopic description of my report.
I see.
The nodule was calcified, so I can only describe it as a centrally calcified, basically inert nodule, but it is the type of nodule that would result from that disease once it's burned out.
Okay. I noticed in your report you referred to, and it's not drawn on here, to Miss Lewis having a stage 4 bed sore.
Yes, ma'am, I believe it. Yes, I believe it was stage 3, but okay.
Okay.
Yes, I did not draw it on there, no.
And why would you not draw it on there? I mean,
Well-
because I'm noticing here, because I believe on your report you said that the depth of that stage, whatever, 3 or 4, bed sore was about 3 centimeters deep?
No, the size of it was 3 centimeters.
Okay.
But the reason that drawing, what I make never intending for it to be shown in court.
okay.
That drawing is notes at the autopsy, and I don't ever think of that being in court. I do take a lot of photos.
Okay.
And if you want to put those up, I'm
No.
happy to look at those.
Wait, that's good. But you did find a significant bed sore.
Yeah, yes, ma'am.
And you also looked at her report, toxicology, meaning what was in her system.
Yes, ma'am.
Is it fair to say, doctor, that on your report, you have reported that she had, I don't know what's high and what's low, but for cardiac blood, she had 53 milliliters of morphine at the time in your analysis in her tox stream?
Right, so I've looked at all of her tox results. They're all within therapeutic levels, and they're all drugs that I would be expecting her to get in her condition.
Okay, and it was, one of them is lorazepam?
Lorazepam Ativan is the trade name, and it's a benzodiazepine similar to Valium and Xanax, and I think it's to help her be more comfortable.
And what about lamotrigine? I can't pronounce it.
Yeah, lamotrigine, that's another potentiator of pain medication.
Okay, and it says 3.6. Is that a high amount?
No, ma'am. They're all in therapeutic range. From my review.
Gabapentin, what is that for?
Gabapentin is, so the GABA neurotransmitter pathways in the brain are central to the perception
that.
of pain. And so that is a drug we use to potentiate the perception of pain.
Thank you.
Anything else from the state?
Nothing further.
All right. May this witness be excused?
And assuming the Ohio Valley fever is similar to Arizona Valley fever, at least with my experience with that Valley fever, most people get it. Pretty much everyone in Arizona, or at least southern Arizona, will have been exposed to it within a few years of moving here. 5 to 10 years. Most people just get it and their body fights it off. It's a spore that can go usually in your lung. Sometimes though it can like spread into your other parts of your body. No, it's not chronic. It's treatable. It can be hard to know if you have it, if you have problems. Once you get it, you're usually immune. But my dad got it a few years after we moved to Arizona, and his test kept showing negative, but he had no energy, low grade fever for months. And then they found a spot on his lung that they thought could be either valley fever or lung cancer. So he had to do a biopsy. Thankfully, it was valley fever and he got drugs for it and treated. But that would make sense. It could help the fungus spread. We get really bad dust storms in Arizona from the south, from like the Tucson near the border. And then they push like huge dust clouds up north. So if you go out in those dust storms, you'll most likely get it. Pets can get it too. Dogs, cats. So you got to be careful. And but most people get it and it's not a problem.
I would ask that he be excused.
No objection, Your Honor.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Thank you.
Correct, Barbara. But yeah, it's like a mushroom.
Thank you so much. State calls Lieutenant Kelly Paget.
Will that help you guys?
Yes, ma'am. Dollar. Good afternoon. My name is Kelly Paget, P-A-D-G-E-T-T.
Good afternoon, Lieutenant.
Good afternoon.
Tell us how long you have worked for Colleton County Sheriff's Office. I know it's been kind of off and on. Tell us about your employment history.
About 17 years now at the Sheriff's Office. Spent a couple of years away. I worked for SLED for a short time.
Oh, no.
In the investigation division in the Low Country, and I also worked as a investigator in the career criminal unit with the 14th Circuit Solicitor's Office.
Okay, and back in January of 2019, were you in investigations with Colleton County Sheriff's Office?
Yes, I was.
All right. At some point, were you dispatched to 273 Wade Hampton Drive?
Yes, ma'am.
All right, and what time was that?
It was approximately 3:33 p.m.
Oh, hella, you missed Thomas Richard Beaver just testified. So we got Richard Beaver. He's off the stand now.
Who did you arrive along with?
I arrived with Captain Angela Stallings and Detective Ed Macarella, who is now deceased.
And how long ago did he pass?
That was in 2021, I believe.
Been a few years now.
Yes.
And what kind of call were you responding to?
The nurse from the ER had called our dispatch center at the sheriff's office advising that there was a female patient there that had some burns and that her husband had been there previously and then had left the scene. And we went to the address on Wade Hampton to try to locate the husband.
Okay. And what were your initial observations when you got to 273 Wade Hampton?
I remember seeing some black substance that was underneath the carport area. And also, I believe there was some water that was puddled under that area as well.
Did you see any, do you recall if the door to the home was open or closed?
At that point when we first arrived, I believe the door was opened.
Were you able to see inside the house?
I personally don't have any recollection of seeing inside the house at that point.
Okay. After you arrived, did you observe law enforcement making contact with Craig Lewis?
Yes, ma'am. I observed it was Lieutenant Long that was talking with Mr. Lewis and asking if he wanted to sign a consent to search form. And Mr. Lewis denied doing that. And in the process, he got into his vehicle and was actually trying to leave the property. And I believe it was Captain Stallings at that point was telling him that he wasn't going to leave at that point, that he was being detained. In that process, he became aggressive, and several detectives had to go hands-on with Mr. Lewis and removed him from his vehicle and detained him.
Okay. Once Mr. Lewis was detained, what did you do?
Myself and Captain Stallings, we left that property and returned to headquarters at the sheriff's office to obtain a search warrant for the residents in the property.
Okay. And did you obtain a search warrant for 273 Wade Hampton?
Yes, ma'am.
You got a magistrate to sign that?
Yes, ma'am.
And did you bring it back to the residence?
Yes.
And did you help execute that search warrant?
Yes, I did.
And did you document what all was marked with placards and what was collected for evidence?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. We're going to go through a number of pictures.
No objection.
Those?
Yes, sir. For the record, these are pictures, exhibits 26 through 45.
All right, that'll be states 26 through 45 inclusive without objection.
And if I may publish and direct the witness's attention to the screen up here, I'll ask Lieutenant Padgett about each picture.
You may.
Yes, ma'am.
And if you need to refer to your report, you're more than welcome to. I'm sure you will.
Thank you.
Down would be good. All right, Lieutenant, I'm going to show you what has been marked as states 26 and ask what this placard 20 depicts.
Yes, ma'am. So just referring to my investigative report, I have it listed as a sample of black burnt substance on the living room floor next to the coffee table.
Okay. And that was that collected as a result of the search warrant?
Yes, it was.
I'm publishing states 27. That's the again?
Yes, ma'am. I have it listed as a sample of hair found in the black burnt substance.
28. And is that just a reference point for Parker 20?
It is.
Okay, but it's still the same debris that was collected?
Yes, ma'am.
Beg the person indulgence. Okay, in reference to placard 20, was a can of fire debris collected?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, I'm going to show you what's been marked as State's Exhibit 61. That was later labeled as SLED's Item 1. But is this what was collected in reference to placard 20?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. State would move 61 into evidence at this time.
No objection.
61 without objection.
Publishing State's 29. What is this depict?
I have it listed as liquid from bucket and recliner next to fireplace.
Was that collected?
Yes, ma'am.
Showing you what's been marked as State 63. Was this what that brown liquid was collected in from placard 23?
Yes, ma'am.
All right, State would enter 63 at this time.
Without objection, I presume?
No objection, Your Honor, I'm sorry.
That's right. 63 without objection.
State's Publishing Exhibit 30. Sorry, can we see the number on that?
Yes, ma'am.
What do we see there?
Have that listed as a log inside the fireplace.
Okay. And is there another section to Article 24?
Yes, also sample of ashes inside the fireplace.
I'm sorry, is that number 30?
30.
Thank you.
This is State's Exhibit 64. 64. Handing you what's been marked as State's Exhibit 64. Is that where the ash from the fireplace was collected?
Yes, ma'am.
State would enter 64 into evidence.
No objection.
64 without objection.
State's Exhibit 31. What do you have that listed as?
Sample of black substance from living room floor between the fireplace and coffee table.
Was that collected?
Yes, it was.
Publishing states 32. Is that just another view of the same placard material?
That's right.
I'm going to hand you what's been marked as State's Exhibit 65 and ask if this is the material from that placard, 25.
Yes, it is.
All right. State enters 65 at this time.
No objection.
Thank you. 65,000.
State's Publishing Exhibit 33. Can you tell us what placard 26 indicates?
Sample of burnt substance from fireplace door.
All right. Was that collected?
Yes, it was.
Marking this as State's Exhibit 72. Handing you what's been marked as State's Exhibit 72 and ask if this is what was collected from placard 26.
Yes, it is.
State would move 72 into evidence at this time.
No objection.
Thank you. 72 without objection.
Hey.
Publishing states 34. What is this placard indicate?
Sample of black substance on the floor of the master bedroom.
Was that collected?
Yes, it was.
States 35. Is this just another picture of the same substance?
That's right.
I'm going to hand you. Sorry. Handing you State's Exhibit 66 and asking you if that was collected from that placard 31 that we just viewed.
Yes, ma'am.
State would move 66 into evidence.
No objection.
66 without objection.
Yeah, you noticed that?
And I believe I left this one out.
Really should
State
spike it.
62, when we were viewing placard 20.
Like,
I'm going to hand you State 62 and ask what this can contains.
According to my investigative report, this is a sample of the hair found in the black burnt substance.
Okay. Thank you. State would enter 62 into evidence at this time.
No objection.
Thank you. 62, no objection.
Now, Lieutenant, were all of these items that we just spoke about, the fire debris, everything in these cans in this bottle, were they all sent to SLED for testing?
Yes, ma'am, as far as I know.
Okay. And in fact, are there SLED numbers on there?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. All right, moving along. Who physically took the swabs of suspected blood?
That would have been Detective Tozier at the time, now Mullins.
the locations. I'm going to publish State's Exhibit 36. And that's placard 15. What are we looking at here?
I have it listed as a swab of the bloody footprint on the living room floor.
Okay, and that was collected by Tozier.
That's correct.
State's 37. Sorry, can you see that number?
I'm sorry, I can't quite see the number on the placard.
Okay. It's placard 16.
I have it listed as swab of bloody footprint on the living room floor.
Was that collected?
Yes, ma'am.
State's Exhibit 38. This is placard 17.
Another swab of the bloody footprint on the living room floor.
Placard 28.
I have this listed as a swab of blood spatter from the top drawer on the right side of the entertainment center.
And that was collected.
Yes, ma'am.
All right, State's 40. Is that just another view of that suspected blood?
That's
They
right.
get rid of it. If he's acquitted, I imagine would get rid of it pretty soon. If he's found guilty, then they would keep it until at least his first round of appeals runs out. For sure.
State's 41.
I have this listed as blue jeans with belt on the chair in front of the washer and dryer.
And 43, is that another picture of this blue jeans with the belt?
Yes, it is.
I'll hand you what's been marked as State's 68. Are these the jeans that, I'll take them out for you. Looking at that, can you tell what it's labeled?
Yes, jeans with a belt.
Okay. And does it have a number on there?
Number 34.
Does that correspond to the placard?
Yes, ma'am.
Do these appear to be the jeans with the belt?
Yes.
And that State's 68 that I would like to enter into evidence.
Counsel?
No objection.
No objection, thank you.
All right, this is State's 44. What are we looking at here?
I have this listed as blue jeans with black substance on right pants leg on the chair in the dining room at end of table.
Showing you what's been marked as State 67. And does that indicate what it is contained in there?
Yes, ma'am. Placard number 35, jeans from chair in dining room.
All right. And the photo we just saw depicted what on the bottom of the jeans?
black substance on the right pants leg.
State would enter 67 in evidence at this time.
No objection.
Thank you. 67, no objection.
All right. Now, the following day, Lieutenant, did you all get another search warrant?
Yes, we did.
And what was that search warrant for?
It was for a separate residence that was located 595 Kansas City Road in Walterboro.
All right. And when did you execute the search warrant on that residence?
It was executed on January the 18th, 2019.
Beg the court's indulgence. I just have some more that I need in order.
Take your time.
All right. State is moving to enter exhibits 46 through 56, which are pictures of Kansas City and what was found there, as well as 73 through 75, and defense has already stated no objection,
All right, 46 through 56, without objection.
as well as 73 through 75.
Missed that.
Sorry.
73 through 75 also. Thank you.
Will, no objection.
I had to add some. Okay, again, Lieutenant, I'm going to turn your attention to the screen. If you can just describe what we're seeing on here for the jury. State's Exhibit 46. There we go.
Sorry, this is just a view of the residence at 595 Kansas City Road, taken from the roadway.
And whose residence is that?
My understanding, that was a secondary home to Mr. Lewis.
State's 47.
It's just another view of a different angle of the same residence.
State's 48.
It's going to be the back door of the residence.
State's 49.
It's going to be a burn pile that was located in the yard.
State's 50.
It's a burn pile in the yard.
Was that a separate burn pile?
Yes, ma'am, I believe so.
I'm sorry, this is State's 51. What are we looking at?
I have it listed as a burnt lighter fluid can in the burn pile in the front yard.
State's 52. Is that just another picture of that same burn pile?
That's right.
State's 53.
So number 10, I have listed as scattered cotton in the burn pile in the front yard, as well as number 11. Same thing.
State's 54, just another picture of those items in the burn pile.
Yes.
State's 55.
It's a picture of a utility trailer in the yard.
State's 56.
Just a view of some material in the utility trailer.
State's 6. I'm sorry, State's 73, placard 6.
Have it listed as black burnt substance on the floor of a utility trailer.
State 74, placard 7.
Piece of black plastic with black burnt substance on the floor of the utility trailer.
State 75, placard 8.
Cotton-like substance scattered in the utility trailer.
All right, let me ask you this, Lieutenant. Were those items with the placards from Kansas City collected? that you're aware of?
I don't believe so.
Or if they were collected, were they sent off for testing? I can ask another witness.
Thank you.
Are you aware if anything was sent off for testing from Kansas City?
I don't believe it was. I do not know. I don't believe so.
Thank you. Beg the court's indulgence. I think that's all I have for you at this time, Lieutenant. If you can please answer any questions that Ms. Wright Matthews may have for you.
Good afternoon, Detective Paget.
Good afternoon.
Ms. Paget, you stated that, what was your title back in 2019 working with the Sheriff's Office?
At that point, I was a sergeant.
And you were in charge of, also a part of the Criminal Investigations Unit.
Yes, sir.
At that time in 2019, when you arrived on scene at Wade Hampton Street, Wade Hampton Avenue, were you wearing any type of body camera?
No, sir.
Of course not.
When you arrived on scene, you stated you saw some other officers that had already arrived on scene.
That's right.
I want to get into a few of the things that you mentioned from your investigation. You returned with Captain Stallings with the search warrant and conducted the search of the property.
That's
correct?
right.
And when you returned to the property the second time, you didn't have the body cam on at that point either.
At that point, members of the investigation division were not issued body cameras, so no, sir.
I wanted to take a look back at placard 20, which I believe is State's Exhibit 26.
It should be.
Beg your pardon, Mr. Johnson. Captain Stallings, you can refer back to your report to placard 20. What did you list placard 20 as in your report?
I have an A and B listed under placard 20.
Yes,
A
ma'am.
sample of a black burnt substance on the living room floor next to the coffee table, and also a sample of hair found in the black burnt substance.
And at the time of your investigation, were you aware of several dogs that lived inside of the home of your investigation? That was the subject of the investigation?
Only that one of our captains had to call animal control to respond because of the canines in the residence.
So you were aware that canines were in the residence?
Yes.
You also mentioned some pants that you retrieved from the scene, jeans, I believe. From according to your report, what number were the jeans marked as?
Placards 34 and 35 were pairs of blue jeans.
And are you aware if those jeans were ever tested by SLED?
I don't know.
Let's go back to your arrival on the scene. Unlike several of your colleagues, you have a report. You've got written in here that you arrived with some other officers. Who were the other officers that you arrived with?
Captain Stallings and Detective Macarella.
In your report, did you state that you observed what appeared to be a black substance scattered from the garage carport area? And you also state that you see Lieutenant Long and others exiting the residence. Is that correct?
Yes, sir.
Did you observe anything else underneath the carport upon your arrival to the scene?
Just as I have listed here, observed a black substance scattered under the garage or carport area, and there was water also puddled under the carport.
So you observed water as well as the black substance underneath the carport area.
Yes, sir.
And was that near the water hose?
I can't recall.
Did the substance and the water on the ground look to be consistent with something that fire had just been put out?
I think that's fair, yes.
And also, I want to go back to another photo you took from the house. It's State's Exhibit 30, which is what you have marked as placard 24 in your report. If you could please tell the jury what you marked placard 24 as.
Also, I have an A and B for this one. So A is a log inside the fireplace. B, a sample of ashes inside the fireplace.
You know me out, Rich? You can hand you what marks placard 24. Is that accurate? They what you saw in the photo?
Yes, sir.
And
I didn't take the photo, but yes.
And from this photograph, does there appear to be some ash and some other debris that appear to be blown out of the stove or wood burning stove there?
It looks like cigarette butts. I'm not quite sure what else it might be.
I also want to ask you a few questions, Ms. Padgett, about Mr. Lewis's arrest or his detaining and arrest. According to your report, you weren't involved directly in detaining or arresting Mr. Lewis, correct?
That's correct.
So you had no hands-on throughout the entire process?
No, sir.
So is it fair to say that you had a clean view of everything that occurred?
I suppose.
And in your report, you've never listed or mentioned or referred back to any type of fight or tussle. Is that correct?
Can you refer back to it?
Sure.
I have here, it reads in part that detectives assisted in detaining Lewis. In the process of Lewis's detention, some detectives received injuries due to going hands-on with Lewis during his failure to comply.
Nowhere in there is there a fight or tussle that you mentioned.
No, sir, not in this report.
And as you stated, you believed you had a pretty visible viewpoint, I guess you could say, of Mr. Lewis being taken to the ground.
Yes, sir.
And did anything happen after Mr. Lewis was taken to the ground?
He was detained.
Was there any kind of swing or lunge from Mr. Lewis as to any of the other officers that you observed?
Not that I recall.
Did you observe Lieutenant Long punch or hit Mr. Lewis?
No, sir.
Did you observe Mr. Long kick Mr. Lewis?
No, sir.
No further questions, Your Honor. Ms. Padgett, may I approach, Your Honor? Is this photo, you recognize this photo?
Yes, sir.
Is it accurately the inside of Hampton Avenue, Wade Hampton Avenue address?
Yes, sir.
Is this a wood burning stove and from their home?
Yes, sir, as far as I know.
Your Honor, fence move to this into exhibit, fence exhibit 5.
No objection.
Five objection. Thank you.
Back to court, Your Honor. No further questions, Your Honor.
No redirect, thank you. I would ask that Lieutenant Padgett be excused.
Any objection?
No objection, Your Honor.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
May counsel approach?
Yes.
I think that's it for today. I'll go. Yeah, I'll switch over to day 2. We'll play that for 30 minutes or so. And redirect you over to Hella. She is going to do the testimony of a very bizarre person. And this lovely individual has an alternative way of going through life. So we will explore his eccentricities and beliefs. It happened today in a trial that I did not think was going to be entertaining, because I try to avoid, trials where children have been hurt. But this guy is kind of basically in a cult, more or less, and he is just wild. So we have that to look forward to in 30 minutes.
Your affirmative testimony about the guilty court in this trial shall be the truth, so help you God.
I do.
Take a seat in the witness stand. State your name again for the record. Very last name.
Shauna Mullen, Mullen.
Good morning, Deputy Mullen.
Good morning.
Since 2019, have you been married?
I have.
Okay, and so your maiden name was what?
My previous married name was Dozier.
Okay, previous. So I apologize, but if we say Tozier, we're talking about you, right?
Yep.
Okay. Who do you work for?
Colleton County Sheriff's Office.
And who did you work for in January of 2019?
Colleton County Sheriff's Office.
Did you take a break from Colleton in between there?
I did.
All right. Did you move away?
I did.
All right. And when did you come back to Colleton?
August of 2023.
When my husband cheated on me.
When you were working for Colleton in January of 2019, what was your position?
I was an investigator.
And what was your role in the investigation against Craig Lewis?
I assisted with the investigation, collecting evidence, interviews.
On January 17th of 2019, where did you respond?
I responded to the hospital first.
All right. To what sort of call?
It came out as a burn patient from a possible domestic situation.
What were your observations once you got to the hospital?
The patient was already prepared to be flown out. She was wrapped. The only thing that was visible was her feet and her hair area. I could see that it was like singed.
Okay. Was Craig Lewis there?
He was not.
Who was there?
Her daughter, Leanne.
All right. Did you speak to her?
I did.
What did you do after the hospital?
I went to the house on Wade Hampton.
All right. Was that 273 Wade Hampton?
It was.
And was Craig Lewis there?
He was.
All right. What did you observe when you got to Wade Hampton?
Other investigators on scene already had him detained.
And what did you do after that?
I advised him of his Miranda rights.
Okay. How did you do that?
I read it from a card.
And did he state anything afterward?
He did.
Okay. And feel free to refer to your report, of course.
After I advised him of his Miranda rights, the first thing that Lewis stated was that he did not do anything to his wife.
Okay.
So not exactly getting the idea.
Did you ask him
Miranda.
anything after that?
Lewis stated that that his wife was trying to start the heater when her pant legs caught on fire. When I asked Lewis what he did next, he did not have an answer. I asked Lewis how he attempted to put his wife's pant legs out, and he was like, "What do you mean?" I asked Lewis how he got the fire out, and Lewis stopped talking.
Was that the extent of your conversation with Mr. Lewis?
It was.
Okay. At some point, did officers come back with a search warrant?
They did.
Did you assist in execution of that search warrant?
I did.
All right, I'm going to hand you what has been marked as states 71, sorry, let me do 70 first, and 71, and ask if you can identify what's contained in these packages. This is 70, States Exhibit 70, and this is for identification purposes only at this time.
Item number 9, placard 15, 16, and 17. It's swabs.
All right, are those swabs that you took from those placard numbers?
They are.
All right, and what were they swabs of?
Blood. What I thought to be blood at the time.
Okay. And you took those swabs?
I did.
All right. And again, for identification purposes, States Exhibit 71. Can you identify this?
Appears to be a swab as well.
All right.
From placard 28.
All right. I'm going to hand you what's been entered as states 36, 37, 38, and 39, and ask if these are the bloody footprints from which you took those swabs. And then the last one is not a footprint, but can you describe what that is?
It is like the entertainment center, like the shelving that was to the right side of the television.
Okay.
And yes, they are where I took the blood swabs from.
Okay. And the placard numbers indicate the same as what appeared on those bags that you just identified?
They did.
All right. What sort of training do you have? Do you have any crime scene training?
I do. I went to college for forensic science and crime scene investigation.
All right. Can you just describe what sort of classes and training you have in crime scene?
Just basic, like collection, processing. We did a little bit of like blood trace, nothing like too extensive. Interviews and interrogation.
All right. I'm going to put up State's Exhibit 33. This should lighten up a little bit more. But Deputy Mullen, do you recognize what's contained in State's Exhibit 33?
It looks like the doors of the fireplace from inside the home.
And can you describe your observations regarding the doors of the fireplace?
There's burnt residue on the front, both doors.
All right, and are you talking about these black marks?
Yes.
I think it's the
What did that
fan.
indicate to you?
That indicates that the fireplace doors were closed at the time that the victim was on fire. The
Okay.
clothing falling off of her from the fire looks like it splattered down onto it.
The state has not established that this witness is an expert as it relates to residue or placement of this crime scene. She's just said that she was an investigator at that particular time, and simply that. She can only say what she saw. She drew a conclusion, and that has not been established that she has the ability to do so.
Without issuing an opinion, I think she can testify to her observations regarding the outside.
I agree with that, but she's straight into opinion of things.
So you noticed the burn debris on the outside.
That's correct.
Okay. State's 25. What is this a picture of?
The fireplace with the door open.
Did you look at the inside of those doors?
I did.
All right. What did you notice about the inside of the doors?
There was none of the residue on the inside.
All right. The next day, January 18th. What did you do that day?
On the 18th, I went to 595 Kansas City Road to make contact with an individual there.
Okay. Whose residence is Kansas City Road?
It was also Craig Lewis's residence.
What did you see when you got there?
There was a burn pit in the front that was still burning, and there was a trailer with like cotton and like charred substance.
This is
on it.
day 2.
Okay.
Beginning.
Eventually, was a search warrant gotten for that residence?
It was.
Were certain items collected from that residence?
There were.
What sort of items were collected?
There was the trailer, the items on the trailer. I believe there was stuff from the fire that was collected.
Okay. All right, I'm going to show you what's been entered as State's Exhibit 55, and I said this is the trailer that you're referring to.
It is.
55, it's been entered.
He used to never come onto my lap. Now he's like walking around on it.
All right, so trailer located at Kansas City.
Hey.
States 73, 74, and 75 are pictures of what?
The deck of the trailer and the items on the trailer.
And those were items that were collected from the trailer?
I believe so.
Okay. And those consisted of what?
It appeared to be cotton and some burnt wood, I believe is what it was.
Finally, I'm showing you States 54. Is this one of the burn pits that you saw
It is.
and collected items from?
It is.
Now, let me ask you, Deputy Mullen, were any of the items from Kansas City ever sent off to SLED for testing?
They were not.
Okay. They were not.
Okay.
Was there a particular reason?
We could not 100% say they were the items that came from the Wade Hampton house. They appeared to be, but then it was found the next day, so we could not establish what had happened between the time of the incident and the time that we found them on Kansas City.
Okay. Did you ever, between either one of the search warrants that were executed, did you ever find any burned clothing of Terry's?
We did not.
All right. That's all I have. Please answer any questions that Ms. Wright Matthews may have for you.
May I please? It's hard to call you Miss Mullen.
That's
so
okay.
Forgive me if I just say Shauna.
No problem.
At the time that you arrived at the scene, meaning on Wade Hampton Avenue, were you a ranking officer?
I was an investigator.
And is that, you weren't a lieutenant, you weren't a
I'm sorry.
sergeant, and you weren't a captain or a major, isn't that right?
I was maybe a corporal. I don't remember what I was at the time.
Okay. And when you arrived, how many officers were there?
A few. I can't say for certain.
You'd already gone to the hospital.
I did.
And is it fair to say there was at least 7 or 8 officers there?
I couldn't tell you for certain.
More than 4 or less than 4?
Probably more than 4, I would think.
Okay. Who can you remember as already being there when you got there?
I remember Eubanks, Marcarella, Stallings, David.
David Long?
Yes, David Long, sorry. Varnado. I believe Padgett was there as well.
Okay.
That's all I remember being there.
If my count's right, we're at 6. 6 officers were there.
Yes,
And was Craig Lewis already placed in handcuffs?
he was.
Was he seated in a white chair?
I don't know.
Where was he when you got there?
I don't remember where he was exactly.
You don't?
I don't.
Where was he when you read his Miranda rights to him?
In front of me. That's, I don't
Standing,
remember.
sitting, laying down on the ground? Were you inside the house, outside of
I
the
know
house?
we were outside by
Okay.
the carport area.
Okay, and you don't remember anything else other than that?
I don't remember if he was standing or sitting.
I think it's kind of, do you think it kind of odd that you, as the corporal, potentially, or investigator, have in your report that you read him the Miranda rights when David Long, who's your superior, was there first on the scene and had already said that he read him the Miranda rights?
Do I find it odd?
Yeah?
No,
Okay. But you did write a report,
I did.
and in your report, you gave exactly what he said to you, correct?
I didn't quote it.
Okay. Did you have in your car the normal forms that you usually have where you advise a person of their Miranda and make them sign an initial and agree that they're going to provide a statement? Did you have that form with you?
No,
You don't keep that form with you?
I was not in my vehicle that day.
Okay, was any officer of the other 6 people present there where they had the Miranda form so that my client could sign saying that he understood his rights and was still going to talk?
I can't testify to what they had.
Did you ask?
No,
Since you took the statement, you read it from a card, and you were questioning him, did you ask, anybody got a form?
I did not ask.
Okay. Did anybody have a cam?
A
Body
camera?
cam? Body cam?
No.
Did you have your
She's never even
physical
heard of it.
cam? Excuse me, phone, where you could have used your video on it?
I probably had my phone on me
Okay, and you keep it on you, don't you?
most times.
Okay. You arrived at the scene at 3:15?
Somewhere around there, if that's what the call log says, then that's
No,
correct.
I'm reading from your report you just read to her.
Around 3:15, I responded to the hospital.
Okay, and you wrote this report pretty soon after this, so there's no reason to now say that you're not sure. 3:15 was when you got over to the house, at the hospital, excuse me.
It says around, so
Okay, I got
somewhere
it.
around there.
I got it, that's fine. Around 3:15, you arrived at the hospital.
Yes, ma'am.
And when you arrived at the hospital, you talked to the nurse first. Do you remember the name of the nurse?
I don't believe I talked to the nurse.
Okay. Do you remember what time it was, or did you tape the statement you received from anybody at the hospital? Any statements?
No.
Okay. Did you ask to look at the Miss Lewis?
She was laying wrapped next to me,
And how close did you get to Miss Lewis?
within a couple of feet probably.
Did you check out her feet?
They were untouched.
What does untouched mean?
They were unburned.
They were not burned.
Correct.
Did you take a photograph of that?
No.
Did you ask anyone with the hospital whether or not you could take any swab of her skin to see if there was any accelerant on it?
I did not.
Did you talk to the doctor that was on duty, Dr. Fisher?
I don't believe I did.
Did anyone that went to the hospital ask the doctor what Miss Lewis told them happened?
I can't speak for what anyone else did.
Is it your testimony that you never talked to Nurse Bishop that came earlier to testify?
I don't remember speaking with her.
And isn't it fair that if you had, it would have been in your report?
I would assume it would be.
Okay. And when you left the hospital, did you believe in your investigative mode, did you believe that you needed to preserve the video of Craig Lewis bringing his wife into the hospital? Did you believe a crime had been committed?
I believed that it was possible a crime had been committed.
And so, understanding your responsibilities as an investigator, did you put the hospital on notice that, hey, I need you to preserve the video all the way from the emergency room entrance, the parking lot, as well as Mr. Lewis coming in to the hospital?
I did not.
Did you have this conversation or a conversation in reference to this with any of your superiors that were supposed to be supervising your investigation?
Have what conversation with them?
About preserving evidence?
I don't believe I did.
Okay. How and what was your tone of voice when you asked Craig what happened?
I believe I was just monotone.
Just like you are today.
I believe so.
And you just said it in that tone when he said his wife was trying to start the heater when her pant legs caught on fire. Then you asked him, you tried to ask further, how he attempted to put his wife's pant legs out. And he said, what you mean? Did you respond?
I asked Lewis how he got the fire out.
And you responded in the same tone you're responding today?
I would imagine.
Okay. Did you see any blood on the bottom of Terry Lewis's foot at the hospital?
I don't recall if there was blood or not.
You said it was untouched and unwrapped.
They were unburned.
Thank you. Now, Shauna, there's been a lot of talk. I'm sorry, Corporal Mullen.
Oh.
There's been a lot of talk.
Not a Pekingese named Shauna.
about the fact that the department did not require that officers wear body-worn cameras. You did not have a body-worn camera that day?
I did not.
What capacity do you work with the Sheriff's Department today?
Today, I'm a deputy.
You're a deputy, you're not an investigator anymore?
That's correct.
And to your knowledge, does the investigators or members of CID, do they wear body cams today in 2024?
We do.
And are they required? Now, deputies are required to. Does CID?
I believe they do.
Okay. Now, back when you left the Sheriff Department for that, I think you stayed away 3 years?
Approximately.
You moved to New York.
I did.
And wouldn't you agree with me that when you were involved in an unfortunate officer-involved shooting where someone died, it would have helped if you had had a body-worn camera, wouldn't it, when SLED came knocking at your door?
Oh,
I don't necessarily know if it would have helped.
It would have
I
exonerated.
object to relevance at this point. I'm not sure what that has to do with the, whether or not Craig Lewis murdered his wife.
I am on cross, and this goes to the issue of the body-worn cameras and this officer's conduct and demeanor.
Officer conduct, unless it has to do with truthfulness, it would not be relevant.
Yeah, I'm going to sustain the objection.
that was a
Another
great
unrelated
line.
incident. I mean, you can certainly ask whether, in general, is it better to have a video than not have a video, which I think is the point you're trying to make.
Was there a video of that incident where you were involved?
Objection, Your Honor. We're still going down the road of some other incident that has nothing to do with Craig Lewis and the murder of Terry Lewis.
I will withdraw it, Your Honor.
All right, thank you.
The debris that we showed
Point
that was
made.
on the trailer. I'm going to show you Exhibit 55. It's a picture of the trailer. Did you collect the debris off the trailer?
I personally did not.
How many people went out to serve this warrant, search warrant?
I'm not sure.
Did you have the ability to collect, because it's not a, I expect the trailer should have debris on it, but how many people went out to execute this search warrant? Why didn't somebody just take the stuff off the trailer so that it could be examined?
They would have needed the search warrant to take the stuff from the trailer.
And you had a search warrant that next day, and you had the trailer there at the house, but instead you hauled the trailer away instead of taking the debris that needed to be examined away, didn't you?
I personally did not.
Well, who did?
I can't say for certain. I was not on scene.
And that trailer has been in the Sheriff's Department's custody since 2019, the day after this incident, and has not been examined by SLED. No one has even fingerprinted, test substance on it, and you still have it. And you're here today, and it's not really relevant for anything other than to show cotton balls on it, isn't it?
What is your question?
Is it relevant? Is that trailer relevant to this case other than to say what you just said in direct examination, that it has cotton on it?
At the time, we believed that it moved the couch from the original crime.
Okay, David, I am tired of your antics. I am tired. You are not welcome in this chat anymore. Just kidding. Oh, I couldn't do the full freak out because people would think I'm serious. I'm very tired of your antiques as well.
Scene.
And did it have the couch on the trailer when you seized?
Hey, David, I'm about to end and redirect over to Hella, but you should come on if you're available, or at least watch, because it's like one of the most frustrating directs and amazing crosses of a cult leader who is just annoying the prosecutor.
The trailer.
It did not.
Of course, indulgence. preserve the 911 call?
It was not.
Did you attempt to speak to the person that called 911?
I don't believe so. I don't believe so.
While you were at the scene of Wade Hampton Avenue, did you go and speak to any of the neighbors about what you thought might have been a crime?
I did not.
Did you look for any cameras in the neighborhood?
I did not.
Thank you.
Redirect.
Would cameras in the neighborhood showed what occurred within 273 Wade Hampton Drive?
They would not.
Thank you, that's all I have.
Not sure who the lady is behind him. Maybe
Cameras would have shown whether or not
an investigator.
Craig hurried his wife out of the house, took her and put her in the car, and whether he was trying to hurt her, wouldn't it have?
Objection, that would be conjecture. We don't know what cameras would have shown.
I am on cross, and Your Honor, she opened the door regarding the
I think
cameras.
if you asked could
Yeah.
rather than would, that might resolve the issue.
Cameras could have shown what happened as Craig and his wife entered the house, and it came out of the house to go to the hospital, couldn't it have?
They could have.
It could also have shown a cleanup that has been suggested by some of your other officers that Craig was taking part in, couldn't it have?
It could have.
Thank you.
Thank you. Anything else related to the cameras?
No, Your Honor, I would ask that this witness be excused.
No objection, Your Honor.
Thank you so much.
All right, thank you. All right, State calls Leanne Kellum.
All right, guys. This is the daughter. I'm going to be ending now, but I will be back tomorrow, and we will do the direct and cross of this lovely, lovely woman.
Raise your right hand. Left hand on the Bible. Do you confirm the testimony about the court in which trial shall be the truth, so help you God? Take a seat in the witness stand. State your name again for the record. Spell your last name.
Ooh.
Leanne Cronky, Cronkey.
President of the HOA. So yeah, we'll start with that tomorrow. So I'm going to send you all over to Hella right now. Brad. And yeah. We're going to do the thank you, Half Irish. You're awesome. Oh, and since David's in the chat, I'll post his channel as well. Poppy. Well, do you deserve it? So yeah, excited utterance. I'll redirect y'all over. Half Irish posted the link. And she's going to start in 4 minutes. So thanks for being here. And I will stream tomorrow. Toodles. Yes, David, bring your antics as well.